Hey guys, hope everyone's good. This is a quick video. I like to do all my videos in one take and hopefully very little editing. About 5 things that guitarists often forget about when they're soloing. And it's just some of the tips and tricks that I've learned over the years that make your soloing, hopefully, you're going to judge me now, interesting, varied, and give you some different ideas on what to do if you feel like you've exhausted all the possibilities you've thought of. So let's see how we go. Number 1 is actually going to be tone. Just making sure your guitar sounds good and not just kind of going, plugging in, which I've now done, and going, yeah, it's on, it's fine. Okay, obviously my volume was off there. That's not good enough, okay? You have to think about the song you're playing over, the solo that you're making, the instruments already involved. Make sure you've got a tone that is pleasing on its own, but cuts through the mix and stands out. I don't just mean this for solo playing. This should be for every single time you pick up your guitar, hopefully. You want to make it sound good. People who play saxophone, violin, wind instruments, they spend years. One of their major concerns is making sure they've got good tone production. And, excuse me, and on guitar, yeah, that's fingers and technique as well. But we've got gear as well. We've got guitars and pickups and volumes and tone controls and down here pedals, and then these days we've got amp modeling and we've got digital workstations where we have to make us sound good. So there's loads of things to think about. I'm going to keep things fairly simple. I use these days a Helix HX Stomp. So for tone, I use one of their Fender amp simulations. I just leave it as it is because they sound pretty good. This is, in fact, now this is nothing except for the Fender amp sim there. So it's hopefully pretty nice, decent sounding Telecaster, fairly honest. Down here I've got a MXR Dynacomp, which is quite a famous compression pedal that's not particularly expensive. I think it's all analog circuitry, so it does the job naturally, if you like. And I have it on the output on full, so I'm not reducing my volume at all, and the sensitivity down at basically nothing, so it's hardly doing any compression. But it should slightly even up. Your tone, if you play properly anyway, and it just gives you a slightly more even sound. It's great for when you've got loads of distortion, and it's great for clean as well. I never turn it off, okay? It's no secret, there's loads of people that do this, but you might want to try getting a compressor pedal that just tightens up your sound a little bit. You might not like it, but I do. And then for lead sound today, all I'm going to be using is my full tone OCD pedal, and with that on, it sounds like this. Got a good bit of sustain, it's got a bit of crunch. And it cleans up nicely when you back the volume off. You can get quite a nice sound. And then if I have that on full volume, my guitar on full, sorry, bit of delay as well coming from my Helix. Probably a bit higher volume than I'd normally have it, but I'll leave it on for today. And then the other stuff that people could forget about is your actual guitar. It's covered in stuff, okay? So changing your pickup from a neck pickup, which for me is a single coil, to a humbucker. It gives you a lot more cutting, biting and smooth sound. So experiment with that. And then tone control. Turn your tone dial all the way off. Gives you this really sultry, smooth, almost Santana. And then back on again. All that fullness and brightness comes back again. So using all that combined is key. Okay, point number 2, I might change the order up here, is space. Using space or silence, and also at the same time I might talk about choosing your entry point as well. So I've got a little backing track today that starts off with, you just get one beat counting, kind of. And then it's in. But say you know you've got a solo and you're with a band or you're playing with a backing track or whatever, most people tend to take that first note when the bar line arrives. When actually it might be better to either wait a bit or to come in beforehand. I'm not going to have much time to come in beforehand, so I'm going to come in a little bit later. And then space, don't play. Letting all your notes die out naturally until they've completely disappeared before you then think about your next idea. Two reasons why that's good. One, it naturally does phrasing for us, which wind and brass players and singers have to do. It's called phrasing because it's like a phrase, a sentence, and there's a natural stop and a breath before the next one begins. And guitarists are famous for just noodling forever and just playing endless notes. So it's really worth thinking about taking a pause deliberately and using your phrasing. And then you get time. The second point is that you get time to think about what you want to do next. You have time to move. You're not stuck in the same box and the same scale shape or the same part of the neck. Turn your volume off, find a new place, think about your new idea and when you're going to come in. Then you're in. Job done. So there we go. That's point two. Point three is going to be dynamics. So I'm going to actually play a little bit on the solo here, or a little bit of a solo along to this backing track. And I'm going to deliberately vary how loud I play things. Maybe a bit obviously, I'm going to be a bit over the top with this, but I'm not going to do it with my volume on the guitar. That's all going to be on full. All to do with your picking hand and how delicate you can be, as well as how much you can dig in. And it's actually an infinite spectrum from how quiet you can play to how loud you can play. And you should try and test yourself and see if you can do both those extremes and all the shades between. So let's see if I can do a little bit of that. So there we go, there's a few ways which you can try and be more expressive. And most classical and more formally trained musicians, it's written on their music, all right? You've got your piano and your forte and your mezzo forte and your fortissimo, and sometimes that's drilled into them, and that's part of their performance. But you have to interpret this, and if you're improvising, you've got to do all that on the fly and just make sure you're being as expressive as possible. There we go. Point three, I don't even know how many I've done, it's probably point four, isn't it? Yes, point four is going to be use of ostinato and metric modulation. So, I don't know the exact definition, but an ostinato is when you repeat a short, rhythmical or melodic motif or a figure or a riff, if you like, over and over again. So it can be as simple as not particularly exciting, or it can be more complicated, maybe like a, and the more you repeat it, a number of things happen, most important of which is that the listener gains familiarity and understands it, and therefore links and connects with what you're playing a little bit more. So if you can use some repetition or ostinato, then all the better, because they're going to enjoy what they're hearing. But the way you can use it cleverly is this piece of music that we're that I'm playing over today has like a 12/8 feel. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You might think it's 6/8 or 12/8. It can be somewhere between the two. But essentially, the music and the way you play naturally falls into these groupings of 3 and 6. And so we tend to play with that and emphasize the same beats. Metric modulation is when you deliberately play against that. Some people will call it cross rhythms or polyrhythms, but they all kind of overlap these terms. So in this case, if you phrase what you're playing in patterns of 4, such as so instead of getting a 12 quaver bar in 3, 3, 3, 3, you're getting 4, 4, 4, but all the emphasis points are completely shifted into the wrong place. And there's different ways you can do that, and you don't have to use it with ostinato, with repetition, but you do have opportunities to do that, and you can also do whatever you like. I'm going to see if I can do some kind of metric modulation and maybe some ostinato. This may go well, this may not. Cool, there was a couple of ideas in there. It's kind of easier to do it in a straight 4/4 situation, because then you can use all the patterns of 3 and 5 and 7 and anything that doesn't go into that normal grouping within the time signature that you're in. There we go. And our final point for today, if I can find it in my notes here, is varying your articulation. So making sure you can exploit every way you can play the guitar. So rather than just pick, strings, off I go. You've got bends, you've got slides, both from above and from below. You've got pre-bends, where you can bend to a note and then it allows you to descend, which is a nice sound, very Brian May. And then you've got double stops, where you're playing 2 notes together. You've got palm muting. Then you've got, what else have you got? Oh, you've got playing with your fingers. So you might decide to do a little kind of, you can get some nice little rolls going on. The typical kind of banjo roll, I guess, idea would be combining hammer-ons and pull-offs with a little roll of the fingers. That can make things exciting, but also you can do some kind of quite percussive popping ideas. I made some strange noises at the end there, didn't I? So there we go. So your 5 points, again, probably in a different order because that's how organised I am, were tone. Making sure you've actually worked on a good tone and chosen the right sound for your guitar, and that you can vary it along the way. Space, choosing your entry point. Don't forget about silence, letting your phrases come to a natural end, and being interesting with where you come in. Don't always come in on the bar line with the accent of the song. Ostinato, metric modulation, so using these little repeating ideas to gain interest and connect with the listener. Dynamics, being quiet and loud and everything in between, and varying your articulation. Yeah, so slides, bends, hammer-ons, pull-offs, palm muting, pick, fingers, even harmonics and stuff like that. So, hope that was helpful. I'll do a little bit of a play along. I might try and put some of those into practice, who knows. I'm probably going out of tune as well, so apologies for that. Okay, there we go. So some of those ideas were coming out well there, hopefully. But obviously, normally this solo that you're playing might only be 8 bars long, maybe less. So you've got to try and get some of those ideas in there as quick as possible. Anyway, hopefully that's been of some help to someone. Let me know if you want any tips or anything else you'd like me to expand on. Again, these are all quite unplanned and I probably rattle on about nothing in particular, but I hope it was help to someone. See you guys soon. Bye.